downward facing dog is your resting pose. This is a phrase that has been with me for quite some time, and I think back to the first few yoga classes I took, and this phrase is just so crystal clear every time I come into a downward facing dog. In the beginning, when I heard it and I was in a down dog, I'd be like, how is this a resting pose? My arms felt like they were using so much effort. My legs felt heavy. My back felt tight. It was strenuous for me. And even now, even though the pose itself isn't as strenuous, it's still not a resting pose. I'm constantly activating and exploring these subtle little movements in the downward facing dog that it's not resting at all. So for this little video, I'm going to be going over what those subtle little engagements are in your down dog that you can be looking for, as well as providing some ideas and modifications that can make your downward facing dog a little bit less strenuous, especially if you're first starting out and if your shoulders and your hamstrings and your back are a little bit on the tighter side. So I do recommend having 2 blocks for this and to be close to a wall. And as always, just exploring, right? So as you practice yoga, you will encounter many different ways to practice a down dog. This is just one of the many and what I found helpful for my practice. Okay, let's get started. So I think my first down dog probably looks something like this. Maybe like this, with the elbows bent a little bit. Oh man, I'm tired. So when you have your weight shifted forward so much, it's a lot on the arms. It feels more like a plank, right? The idea is that we really want to draw our hips up and back so that the weight is out of our arms and our shoulders and more towards the feet a little bit. Easier said than done. If you're tight, it's going to shift your weight forward because your hamstrings are going to pull your weight back. So the first thing I would have someone with a little tighter back do is take their hands to blocks. And I'll take my blocks to shoulder width apart, and I cup the edges of the blocks with my palms. From there, I'm going to bend my knees a lot and then push the blocks away at this 45-degree angle. My ears can come between my biceps, and then instead of just sinking the shoulders down and collapsing your chest down, think about integrating your arms, really strong arms to push the floor away and to keep high on the tippy toes, bending your knees for tight hamstrings. So this in itself can alleviate a lot of the strenuous tension in your muscles, especially because you can push against something. It's almost more, I would argue that it's more natural to push against it to eventually ground your heels back and down in your down dog. So having the blocks is a wonderful modification. The other things in your down dog that we want to note is there's a spinning of the inner creases of your elbows forward so that instead of your downward facing dog feeling like a push-up with the elbows going out, you're able to straighten them and to really lengthen through your armpits. So if you watched my Secret to Asana video, it explains that in much more detail. But if you look at my arms, normally, before we engage in this practice of spinning it forward, it's probably like this. The elbows face outwards, and when we push, it almost feels like a push-up. But over time, we want to train it so that our triceps spin in. And at the same time, we want to ground the lower portion of the forearm so that we plug the index and the thumb knuckle down. So we're spinning the inner creases of the elbows in, but we're still active in our hands to keep this forearm engaged. And when you're able to spin the elbows back, the inner creases of the elbows forward, then instead of doing this, it becomes much more like this. This is also so important if you're going to be working deeper into your inversions, such as handstands and arm balances. The other tip that really helped me in my down dog was taking it longer. So I think my down dog was pretty short in the beginning, and there were times that it was really long. We do want to find this happy medium where from your high plank, the shoulders are over the wrists, and then you can bend the knees, arch your low back, and then take it back to your down dog from there. I like to take my ears between my biceps, and I like to look at my belly button so that as I look at my belly button, I pull my ribs in. This creates for stronger arms so that I can push and lengthen through the armpits, and then maybe I can arch my low back, driving the heels down. As you become a little bit more seasoned at your downward facing dog, you'll find that there's so much happening. So that when you're in your down dog, you're concentrating on pushing the arms, and then your inner creases of the elbows are spinning forward. The ears are between the biceps. You're looking to your navel, drawing the ribs in. Then you're arching your low back to lift your tailbone high. And you just continue to cycle through that, because if you had to do all of this and stay static, it's really hard. I kind of want to hold my breath when I'm doing that. So by finding this push and this constant little exploration of movement, my down dog becomes active and also feels a little bit better. I get a better stretch. So inner creases of the elbows are spinning forward, ears between the biceps, gaze to the belly, ribs in, tailbone up. And then I might continue. Every inhale, I'll push and lengthen. Every exhale, I might arch the hips, ground the heels a little, and I continue. Inhale. And then exhale, inhale, exhale. I'm always pushing and finding length in my side waist, as though my ribs and my hip bones are lengthening away from one another. I'm lengthening out my spine, so that instead of from here, it becomes here. Still not a restful pose, but definitely a very enlightening pose and very engaged. So this is just a short one. It's just information if you are curious how to dig a little bit deeper into your down dog. If you're wondering, why is down dog so hard? It is. It's a foundation pose. All of the foundation poses are so hard. It's funny because the more advanced you get in yoga, the harder your foundations, your basics become. And of course, if you are tighter, I do recommend finding this down dog. It feels wonderful. Even if you don't have a wall, if you have a grippy mat, to have a little bit more length so that you can push is quite a good feeling. So definitely giving that a try if you have not before. Okay, that's basically it. I hope you found this informational, and if you did, again, if you could hit the like and subscribe for me, that would be amazing. And until next time.